Thank you. As the Director of the National Library of Medicine and the Interim Associate Director for Data Science at NIH, I come to this modeling community with welcomes and congratulations and 3 questions I'd like your assistance with. First and foremost, how can the NLM help you as a modeling community make appropriate accessible storage and safe storage of your modeling techniques? Second, what are your data needs? And third, how should the National Library of Medicine and NIH as a whole support training in this area? Thank you. I'll take the left microphone first. My left, that's true, sir. Thank you.
I work in the clinical training community, and we try to talk about the models that are being done here, and the training clinical community goes, numbers.
Numbers.
We don't do numbers.
Squiggles.
And yet, when I come to this meeting and I watch the presentation, almost all the presentations use animated visuals.
Yes.
To depict. And so my soapbox right now is that computer visualization is the voice of computational models. And that when I submit my report, I ought to have the little bit of funding it takes to build the simulation model visualization that goes with the model in the library, so that when I pull the model out, if I can't read the numbers,
yep,
I can click on the simulation and I can manipulate variables and I can understand, and that needs to become a standard part of the reporting system for models.
Outstanding. Thank you very much. If I can say back to you, what you're asking for is not simply a report of models, but a way to interact and engage with models, either through visualization or drilling down into the actual underlying parameters. This fits right in my sweet spot because I believe that as we go forward, visualization, visual analytics, and the power of visual engagement to convey modeling is really essential. Let me do a time check with Grace. Grace, what time do you? 2 more. Okay, and there's one in the back. Can I take all 3? All right. Fast questions. Thanks. Good night. I'll go on.
One of the things I think that distinguishes the modeling efforts here from other big data initiatives is that the focus on causal relationships.
Yes, very much.
And in particular, I'd love to see much more advances in automated text mining to extract causal relationships from PubMed and PubMed Central.
Outstanding. So Olivier Bodenreiter from our Lister Hill Center is our leading scientist in this area, and he has a vision of developing a center for observational trials and prediction. And we've been encouraging to broaden that to prediction and causation. But I think this is really ripe. There's a readiness among some communities who have recognized that discovery-driven through mining may be actually much more efficient for us. So there's definitely support for that. Can I ask you if you think we have enough, we need more literature, more tools, more substrate to work on, or do we need better tools to work with those substrates?
Well, the substrate is always growing anyways.
Okay.
I would say that, but we don't have the tools to access causal relationships within the corpus of the literature.
So invest in causal modeling and text mining. Thank you. That's very good. This gentleman here and then this man over here. Yes, sir.
My name is Mark Garbe. I work at the Houston Methodist Hospital. I'm a mathematician. And it's quite unusual that a mathematician is hired by a hospital, actually. So I think there is a huge gap between the training of computational scientists and the training of MDs.
Yes.
There are a number of MD, PhD programs that are growing. I think it would be nice to have an initiative between NSF and NIH that try to fill this gap between these 2 training programs. So the young students work together in both communities, they share vocabulary and so on. And along these lines, it will be kind of cool to have a program that encourages faculty who are computational scientists to have sabbatical in the clinic, so they really are exposed to what's going on.
Yes, thank you very much. I have meetings with SISE and with the Mass Directorate at NSF this week to begin to explore that. Cross-agency training programs are a little harder to implement than parallel training programs, but we're working at ways to do that. I would also challenge you to think about how do we get mathematical thinking and perhaps symbolic thinking more developed in our grammar schools and our high schools, so when we get students into college and into the postdocs, these are not unfamiliar ways of expressing the world. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I'm Terry Sanger from University of Southern California. So you mentioned about the importance of data-driven, presumably the creation of data repositories, and I was wondering if the scale of that, if you're prepared for the scale of the data that we're now generating, I and others can generate
Absolutely.
Like up to 50 terabytes
Piece
per
of cake.
year per investigator.
I know.
Yeah, so the problem is not only storage, but extraction and
Right.
delivery, and whether just thinking of the petabyte level storage that could be generated per year by this community.
Absolutely. And so we are thinking, yes, we are very much aware that whenever we open a repository, it's already filled. And so it's a bit like tribbles. You know, they're going to they'll come with their subsequent data
I'm old
sets.
enough to know that reference.
Not everybody in this room is. But we do recognize. Now, I'm going to close by telling you that the direction we are going at this point in time, and it does change every 32 hours, but the direction we're going this time is envision a future of data storage that is largely distributed, not exclusively, but certainly leveraging commercial clouds, and frankly, trans-government, not just trans-NIH. But what the NIH's particular focus is on is three areas. Authorization, particularly authorization for individual participant level data. Secondly, the potential for risk being discovered through data, so discovering new organisms, for example, without being able to model them correctly. And third, and perhaps most importantly, is the protection of the person's right. The person may be the investigator who has a right to explore before disclosing their exploration, or the person who contributed the data. So imagine three bins. The vanilla bin, a pipe and a box at the end of it. A small community has data sets they need to preserve. They're not growing at all. They're done, but they need to be safe. That's a small, but we should not invest a lot of our efforts in making that any more than just clean and safe. The other end, massive data, constantly dynamically growing, needs a lot of curation, needs a lot of human engagement. That part, I think, is what's appealing to most people, but frankly, that's a small part also. 15-20% of all the data data uses, not all the data amounts, but the data uses are in it. Then we have this sort of 60 to 70% in the middle that will be public-private partnerships, university-individual partnerships. And so some of the things we need to begin to develop our investigators' skill in is forecasting how long your data is going to be useful and how much it's going to change. Secondly, judicious retrieval and judicious storage. We cannot save every piece of data, like we can't save every picture of your kid. You might have 1,000, but eventually you're not going to look at them anymore. You have to think about this judiciously. And third, we have to recognize that that question is both under the control of the investigators and the potential user future out. And we don't have tools right now to forecast investment today for something that may not be of value for 15 or 20 years when it comes to the data mines. We can do it in other areas, the moonshot, for example, but we need to start thinking about those probabilistic models of data curation. So yes, we're thinking about it. No, it's not solved. Come back next year. Thank you so much, everyone. Good luck with your day.
Thank you so much, Patti. We really appreciate you taking time out to talk with us. Talking with Patti, she said she's very interested in hearing your feedback. So please post any comments, questions you have on the feedback page for Patti on the IMAG Wiki, and I'll send it to her. And she also mentioned that she's interested in hosting a webinar for our community to further have an interactive discussion with you all. So thank you again, Patti.